What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Peanut Gallery Podcast, episode 24. It's been a little while.
It feels like forever, honestly.
Listen, dude, the world went to shambles, okay? We took 2 weeks off for Easter and finals, and it's gotten even more chaotic than it already was, so.
Who would have thought?
I know. It's it's correlated to us, too, so we can't take any more time off for a little while.
Yeah, definitely, bro. It's time for us to do the important reporting. No, I mean, it sucked to not be able to record last week. The week before, obviously, was Easter, so we weren't planning on recording. But last week, I needed to have extra time for my finals. But luckily,
It paid off, though.
I am done with school forever.
Forever.
Because I hate school.
You finally finished 5th grade, dude, and we are so proud of you.
I got my middle school diploma. No.
Yeah.
I'm done with college, man. I never have to do another homework assignment. I'm probably going to end up going back to school for something because I don't know.
Well, I think once you finish college, you don't ever have to learn anything else in the rest.
I'm done learning. This is true.
You're done learning for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
And because the only place you can learn is school, obviously, and
Exactly,
pay
that's it.
thousands of dollars to learn probably nothing.
You're catching on, man. You're catching on.
Dude, I could go on a whole rant on how bogus like the public school system is and colleges and the prices and tenure, bro. Oh my gosh, I'm so like bottled up with frustration over it. It's insane.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah,
Dude, tenure in jobs would be nice, right? Being able to like do whatever and never get fired.
Oh yeah, the teachers when they just don't do anything and they put everything on their TA because they can't get fired. Yeah, it's great.
It's good, man. That's how you get quality education and diversity. That's all that matters because I said diversity.
You did say diversity.
So we're good.
It's frustrating, but I'm done, man. How you been this past 2 weeks? I see you grew a beard, bro. This is like the first time I've seen you in a nice big beard.
Yeah, I stopped working at my previous job and I'm allowed to have facial hair now. So.
Grown up.
So there you go.
It looks nice though, bro. I like it.
I know. My girlfriend said I'm finally a man. Wait. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't doubt that.
All right, guys. If you didn't already know, this is the Peanut Gallery Podcast. This is the place that we provide our completely unprofessional and insignificant opinions about the most important and significant topics of the day. I'm your host, Jared, and with me, as always, is Seth, and we're going to jump right into what was nuts this week. All right, guys, we're moving right into what was nuts this week, and this one's actually what was nuts past week.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
ago.
no. So some of these things, I guess not a lot, because we kind of cut some things out.
Two prominent stories we're gonna go over.
Yeah, because a lot of stuff happened, like we had said in the 2 weeks, and that wasn't just a joke. A lot has happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff we're just not gonna have the time to go over, but we thought this was kind of relevant. Fox News letting Bill O'Reilly go.
Yeah.
And I'm
so
sad
obviously,
to see him go.
So Seth wasn't that big of a fan of Bill O'Reilly. Neither was I, really. But this nonetheless is a pretty big statement that Fox News is making. I mean, Bill O'Reilly had the biggest news cable show.
Dude, he made so much money.
United States. Yeah, he made a ton of money. He made a ton of money through the settlements too.
Oh yeah, he made like $25 million to get fired. Oh, I'd get fired for $25 million.
Right? But I don't know. So in all seriousness, I know you didn't like Bill O'Reilly that much, but what do you think? I mean, a lot other alternatives, excluding the internet, social media, and like smaller places like Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, stuff like that, Dave Rubin. When you look at mainstream media, cable news, your MSNBCs, your CNNs, ABC, stuff like that, Fox News really is the more. I wouldn't say they're conservative, but I would say that they back the Republican Party, not conservatism, which. More than CNN or CBS, or MSNBC falls into, the conservative or more classical liberal platform. Basically, what I'm asking is, do you think that Fox News is kind of shying away from conservative, being conservative at all, I guess?
Just for some quick backstory, because I think we just said that they let him go. They let him go because there are many allegations of sexual harassment that have been popping up in regards to Bill O'Reilly and female coworkers. Now,
how many? Like 11.
Yeah, and so I think there's kind of two schools of thought with this, which is one is he's either. I mean, well, not really two schools of thought. There's either two things: he's either guilty or not.
Yeah. And
we don't know yet, and I'm not going to say whether or not he's guilty because honestly, I don't know. There hasn't necessarily been all of the information brought to the table. But we do know that throughout the years there has been many settlements in regards to sexual harassment lawsuits against Bill O'Reilly throughout the years to the tune of what, $15 million?
Yeah, I think it
A
was
lot
like,
of money
yeah.
that he's paid out.
Tens of
And a lot of
millions.
people say you don't settle because you're guilty. You might just settle to keep it out of the public eye. And that may be true. And there's also people saying that it's like it was a coordinated attack from the left to dismantle the head person of the Conservative Party or whatever. But to that, I would say that, again, I hate the two-party system, and I hate the liberals and versus conservatives, and there's nothing in between. I do not like Bill O'Reilly for not that he was conservative, but the fact of how he held himself on air and how he did his interviews and his debates. He came off as an arrogant prick, and he came off like he'd bring people on to have like a debate, and he wouldn't listen to them, or he'd talk over them, or he would be like, no, you're ridiculous, when they're bringing legit points, and he would not kindle a conversation. And so I don't care whether he's left, right, center, whatever. I don't think he was doing anything beneficial in any way to start a conversation. So I'm not sad to see him go. I don't necessarily think he was helping the Conservative Party, because he did come off you couldn't have a conversation.
Yeah,
and so I don't
think
care
he was
that he's
really
gone.
that. I don't think he was really that conservative anyway. I thought he was more of a. But
Yeah.
I don't think it really mattered. I think you're totally right. I think it's well said. The approach that he had, how he treated his guests, and kind of just the presentation that he had. I mean, obviously he was a professional. He'd been in the industry for 20 years, but I don't think his approach was that.
I loved, and
great.
we've seen he kind of had. I mean, we've seen that one video, that famous video of him freaking out about his freaking teleprompter. We'll do it live.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live! Thing sucks!
We'll do it live.
And so, I mean, I'm not sad to see him go. And I kind of lean towards, in this situation where there's smoke, there's fire. There's been so many accusations. I kind of tend to think, maybe kind of similar to the, who was the other guy that recently came forward? People coming forward, the old man.
Oh, Roger Ailes.
No, I'm completely
Sean
blank.
Hannity.
Bill Cosby. I can't believe I just
Bill
forgot
Cosby.
Bill Cosby's name. And there wasn't necessarily proof, but it was a lot of people, and kind of everyone just kind of was like, all right, well, there's probably something to this.
Yeah.
And I tend to think that Bill O'Reilly has come out and said when you find, he can't talk about it right now because he, of course, is looking into slander and stuff, saying he's, of course, denied all allegations.
Yeah.
But I don't think he'd come out and be like, oh, yep, I did that. You got me. So it makes sense for him to deny it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. I mean, there's already been people who have come out.
Well,
against
Tucker,
Sean
right?
Hannity or something like that. Was there
I think-
something with Tucker Carlson?
I think
and then,
he took his spot.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson took his spot.
So I like that because I like Tucker Carlson. I think he does some nice dismantling of ideologies and views. He's a little bit childish sometimes, of laughing at the guests and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Some of the
you
things
need
he
to have
said, yeah.
views. If it's just factual, it's boring. I
He
understand.
gets
that.
ratings, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what goes. We'll see how what Fox News does from now. Because I feel like there's some big transition. You had Megyn Kelly left. You had Bill O'Reilly left. Roger Ailes stepped down. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
Moving on to this next story, though, we got a pretty good amount of stuff that's going on the foreign policy front. I mean, obviously, the lingering crisis with North Korea is still going on. Just this past weekend on Friday, they launched another missile that failed again and blew up. Kind of embarrassing at this point.
It's so
Maybe you
ridiculous.
shouldn't. I don't want us to underestimate them and just think we're playing with nobody at all, but just maybe if you're them, stop trying to launch off your missiles and having them malfunction and blow up.
Yeah. And stop saying how you're ready for anything the U.S. has to throw at you. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
We
You're
could
not.
send over one missile, and you'd be like, "How does this work? I don't understand."
What is this technology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so basically, a couple things that I want to address real quick as we move on into this that happened last week. You have Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, who have announced that the Iranians were abiding by the Iran deal, which, of course, Donald Trump criticized all throughout his campaign as probably the worst deal ever.
Horrible deal.
Yeah, horrible. Second to only NAFTA.
Yeah.
And so he's basically saying that he would step out of the deal the entire time through his campaign. He's president now. His Secretary of State has said that Iran is abiding by the Iran deal, which they're not. I mean, dude, the Iranian government hasn't been abiding by the deal at all. They've been trying to they've been shooting off missiles and stuff like that have contradicted the Iranian deal. Ever since November, they've been shooting off missiles.
What exactly is the deal?
So the Iranian deal is like we're trying to stop them from creating any more nuclear weapons, and we're offering them nuclear energy instead. We're trying to help them further their nuclear energy so that they won't create nuclear weapons. It's really weird because it doesn't work, because if you look back in the 90s with Bill Clinton in North Korea, we had a very similar deal that Bill Clinton orchestrated. How lovely is that, right?
Yeah.
But it was basically the exact same thing. Like, we'll help you develop your nuclear energy and stuff like that if you promise to end your pursuit of nuclear weapons. And it didn't work, obviously. We're in this finagle right now with North Korea. Yeah, so I wish that the administration would learn from that and, maybe recognize that
someone
this
in
deal
politics learning from past mistakes. What?
Yeah, I know. So, I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. What they really should do is just slap the sanctions back on Iran. Say, look, you're clearly not abiding by the treaty that you said. You've been trying to purchase uranium on the open market, and you've been firing off rockets that go directly against the Iranian deal. So sanctions are back on, and then move on. But he's not doing that. So I think that's something important.
Yeah. There's a lot, dude. It's like I feel like it's on ice over there, man. Everything's just like waiting for something to just crack, and then it's all gonna go south, dude. Like,
it really is, man. And because Iran is the number one sponsored country of terrorism in the entire world, so like North Korea has nuclear weapons, or they're working on them. I mean, they're accountable.
They can't even fire a missile. Are you really gonna believe they have nuclear weapons?
They don't have them. They're working on creating them. Yeah, sorry.
I think we have time.
But like China holds them accountable somewhat. The United States obviously holds them accountable, and South Korea does. With Iran, really nobody holds Iran accountable, dude. And if they get that kind of technology to then kind of give out and divvy out to different terrorist organizations and stuff like that, like Al Qaeda and ISIS, dude, I think that can be really dangerous.
Definitely could.
So nipping that in the bud would be nice. More on the global front, though, we have the French elections.
Yeah, these are very interesting. So I had to do a quick read up on these because you mentioned them, and I had heard about them in the news a little bit, and I kind of drifted away from all the politics and stuff during my finals and having to focus on school. But it's very fascinating what's going on over in France.
Yeah,
it's not even a good French accent.
You're just jealous, man.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, it was cool. I was doing research on this, and the way that the French elections work is they have so many different parties that they basically have a round one and a round two, and it pretty much always goes to round two because there's so many. I think there was like 8+ or around 8 different parties or candidates that ran in the first round, and if someone doesn't win the outright majority of 51%, then it goes off into a runoff of the top 2 contenders, right?
I kind of like the system.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
I think I would be more down for something like that rather than our 2-party
where it's only 2 parties the entire time.
Exactly, and it also kind of negates the whole. You could with 8 parties, if you didn't have that second round, it could end up being like 10% of the population votes the president.
Exactly,
you know,
putting it in.
So I kind of like that the second round allows people to revote.
Yeah. But so basically what you have is Emmanuel Macron, who's kind of a centrist. Basically, if he got elected, which people are saying he'll probably win, things would stay ultimately pretty similar.
Really?
And while that might sound nice compared to the alternative, which is Marine Le Pen, I mean, I think, France, their people are angry, dude. Like, Marine Le Pen has gotten more support in her party. She just recently announced that she wasn't a part of the National Front Party anymore because that's been associated with far right and racism,
her dad,
and
right?
anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitic sayings and stuff like that. But so she's kind of smartly pulled out, saying that she's not in that party anymore. But she got, as the front runner of that party, more support than some of their traditional party systems, because Emmanuel Macron ran as an independent and she ran as a far right, and the 2 people in the middle that normally get elected in France lost to both of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, their people are speaking out a lot right now.
They want change.
Yeah, they definitely want change. And if Emmanuel Macron gets elected, then not much is going to change. And who knows what will happen in, I don't know how long their term is, but who knows what will happen 4 years, 5 years from now when the next person is up for election. If things don't change, I mean, that pendulum swings. We talk about it all the time. I don't know what will happen, but I don't know if there's, it's not like Marine Le Pen would be that much better in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a stake, and I really don't care. It's France. I mean, I don't think it'll much would affect us. But I do know there is something where, like, if Le Pen gets in, there's a very good chance they pull out of the EU. No.
Yeah, definitely. She wants. To
And if they
return to
pull out of
French
the EU
franc,
and the
too.
UK's out of the EU, what's left? Germany.
I mean, the EU would essentially fall apart. If
Yeah.
Right now, France is the sixth biggest economy in the entire world and the second biggest in the EU, assuming that the UK is that's excluding the UK. So
Okay.
when they pull out, it'll be Germany and France. France pulls out too. Germany can't support Italy, Greece,
Yeah.
Portugal, all those failed economies. There won't be an EU anymore. That will destabilize the entire global marketplace. So I mean, it could be a big thing. So I would encourage you guys to look into that. I think the round 2 takes place on May 7th. It's May 7th or May 5th. But just be watching into that. But like,
Do they have debates? I'd love to watch a different person. Like, I've never seen debates outside of America. I'd love to actually watch.
Never seen debates outside of you're terrible because you're a woman and you're sexist because you're a man.
Yeah, I wonder if they actually talk about the issues, because we definitely do not.
Probably not. It still is politics after all.
Yeah.
All right, so that was kind of a recap. Moving on to this week, we have the potential government shutdown, which didn't happen. That was stressed this past weekend. And what Congress basically did is they passed a bill allowing them to have another week to negotiate so the government doesn't shut down. Dude, here's my thing, though. Like, so Republicans run, not all Republicans. Donald Trump definitely ran on cutting the government, bringing down different regulations and stuff like that. Why does it matter if the government shuts down, man? I've been doing research on this. The government shut down. The military is still there. Defense is still there. The U.S. Postal Service is still there. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. You still get your food stamps. You still get your tax returns. Your kids still get to go to school. I mean, your national parks close, and the processing for your passport's delayed.
Well, any government entity would kind of go away, right? They would basically just not work.
No, they wouldn't. All of those things remain in place.
Yeah, but there's a
they're
lot of
considered essential.
Yeah.
Dude,
non-essential personnel.
if I had my way, the government would be shut down all the time because all these bloated agencies that don't freaking do anything and waste taxpayer money wouldn't even freaking exist because we don't need them.
I agree. I tend to agree, and it's so bizarre to me that they're like, well, we might just shut down.
Dude, and
like,
people think it's such a big deal. When the government shut down back in 2013, President Obama literally had to force people to not be able to go to Memorial, and they had to pay police and stuff to put up fences and stuff to block off people from going to memorials because everyone was like, it's no big deal that the government was shut down. And he was like, well, we need to make it look like it's a big deal, so we will force people to not be able to go to these places. It's not a big deal if the government shuts down. It's not a big deal at all. Your life will continue just as normal.
No, as soon as it shuts down, it's pure anarchy.
It's insane, dude. It bothers me so much.
It's one of those things that it sounds really bad, and I haven't honestly done a lot of research into it.
So many things still remain intact because our government is such a bloated, huge piece of inefficient crap.
Yes, dude, I'm not gonna argue with that. Well,
But
wasn't
anyways.
the big reason that this passes they wouldn't pass the budget that had the wall in it, right?
Yeah. So
Then
he
he cut his wall.
Yeah, they cut the wall. So that's one.
The wall
big,
should
we're
never
gonna-
have been in the budget. I'm so tired of this freaking wall. Get over it.
We'll talk about this in the 100 in our main topic
Yeah,
when we talk
that's
about
true.
President Trump's promises and stuff like that. But it's like, I mean, Republicans have a majority in. They have the presidency and they have a majority in both houses of Congress, the Senate and the House. So it's really weird that they still are funding Planned Parenthood, still funding Obamacare, still funding Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare to all of these capacities, but they don't put on the one thing that President Trump campaigned for, and it was like one of his biggest, most prominent things that he was promising. And the majority of Americans think that the wall in certain places is a good idea. So that's really annoying.
Well, integrity. Honestly, do we really need integrity anymore?
Well, that's true. We're in a place, dude, you create your own morals and you just move on. Who's to say what's right and wrong, right?
Yeah, there's no right and wrong. That means that the saying there's a right and wrong means that somebody's wrong, and I think that affects someone's feelings somewhere.
That's pretty offended. Somewhere, in some way,
Somewhere.
someone is hurt, and we
Yeah.
should probably just move on. We're probably hurting someone just talking about it. But yeah, guys, we're going to go ahead and move on into the main topic this week. All right, guys, we are back, and we're going to move right into our main topic this week. We're going to be talking about Saturday. It was President Trump's 100th day in office.
America still exists, which I think a lot of people thought it wouldn't.
America's still here, and we're all still somewhat okay. Although there's been a lot of marches, so people are probably much more fit than they were 100 days ago. So that's something good, right?
Yeah, that's
I mean, positives.
one way to look at the marches.
A lot of marches going on.
Yeah,
but yeah,
they just had the March for Science, right?
Yeah,
because we forgot what science
really.
was.
Yeah. Well, if you're a science denier.
A lot of great signs came out of that, man.
A lot of great signs.
A lot of great. They had a lot of like Rick and Morty signs. I was like, I can get down with that. But anyway.
So yeah, President Trump's 100 days. 100 days doesn't really mean much because it doesn't really determine the future of
No,
the
it does. It's
presidency
the
at
most
all.
important thing.
Oh, it
president
is.
can do.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Just a heads up.
Got it. But yeah, man, I don't know. What do you think? How's he doing? 100 days in.
So, I think it's a mixed bag. I wouldn't say he's great. I also don't think he's horrible. I don't think he's as bad as people have made it out to be. I actually think what's more interesting is how people have become in these 100 days more so than what Trump has done. I like that people are way more politically engaged now than they were. It seems they're definitely like keeping a close eye on government, and they're actually questioning things like should executive orders and should a president have this much power. I like that.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a good thing. Like, I can't even scroll down Facebook anymore. Only half the posts are about cute animals, as opposed to before it was like 90%.
Yeah,
right?
and I could only hope that it continues with the next president, but something deep in me tells me that as soon as I get another Democrat in, they're going to forget that they ever said anything about checking government power. But right now, it's nice, and I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that he's kind of... I like what he did with the military, with Syria. I mean, I don't really know. I think it's kind of...
I don't want to say soon to tell.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot has happened. I mean, a lot has happened, but at the same time, compared to what he was talking about, I'm kind of underwhelmed for what he talked about. I mean, Obamacare is still as sturdy and in place as ever. There's no movement on the wall, which I don't necessarily have an issue with, but there isn't any. Hillary's not in jail, and I don't know where that private prosecutor, prosecutor is.
Taking a nap.
Yeah, I mean, he's done some things that I like pulling us out of NAFTA and talking about the TP, the
TPA,
Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP.
Yeah, TPP. Yeah, no, he pulled us out of that.
But he's talking about pulling us out of NAFTA. He's
talking
right?
about NAFTA. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
We'll see. Yeah.
But I like that. I don't know, man. I think it's a mixed bag, and there's a lot things. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I think that legislatively, President Trump really hasn't done that much because Congress hasn't really done anything. I think the only kind of one he's done something that's really, really good in my opinion is the Supreme Court nominee.
Yes, he has.
I think that's really good, and that's going to be something that sticks with the U.S. judicial system for a long time. So I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
But really, other than that, I mean, he's rolled back some of the regulations that were constricting some businesses, some executive orders that President Obama had in place. I think that was a good thing. He tried to do his immigration thing, which didn't really work out that well the first round. But once again, that was an executive order. So really the only things that he's done are executive actions. He hasn't really been able to get Congress unified. And when I say unified, I mean Republicans unified because they have a majority in both houses to really pass anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's a failing on his part because he makes it very hard for conservatives to want to unify and back him.
This is true.
You know
He's
what I
his
mean?
own worst enemy sometimes.
He is, man. If he could get out of his own way, let the people he put in place do their job, I think things would be a lot better. The moment Trump starts speaking, I mean, just this week, there's an article about how he was talking about how he thought being a president would be easier. He said, quote, "I loved my previous life. I had so many things going. This is more work than in my previous life. I thought it would be easier. I do miss my old life. I like to work, but this is actually more work," end quote. No, duh. You're the freaking president of the United States. It's more work than being a multi-billionaire where you can fly around on jets and go on yachts and do whatever you
He
want.
still flies around on a lot of jets.
It's maddening. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
kind
crazy.
of like, seriously.
If he didn't talk, dude, here's my thing. If President Trump didn't talk and didn't tweet, then I think most of what has
He
happened
just existed.
has been pretty decent. I mean, it was a total failed promises so far with the wall.
If we just put him in a room, and all he had to do was one button.
Who to nuke or not.
Yeah.
Courtesy of
Ron Swanson.
No, but here's my thing. This is what kind of concerns me is we talked about this, how people are going to say that if President Trump can't get it done, then nobody can. This is going to discourage possibly, more voter activity in the midterms and in the next presidential elections. You have this total outsider coming in promising these things about repealing Obamacare. He's going to build a wall, right? Those are his two main things, and trade.
Bring the jobs back.
And bring the jobs back, yeah. So those two promises he hasn't done at all, and on one of them was a miserable failure trying to repeal Obamacare. Did not work at all. And then this wall doesn't look like it's going to happen in this next fiscal year because he said that he'll sign a budget into law that doesn't have funding for the wall. So whether you agree with the wall or not, a ton of his supporters did, and that is going to really discourage them. Ann Coulter talked about this. She's
Do you think that's a big
proponent
deal,
of the
though?
wall. What'd you say?
You think that's a big deal with him not getting the wall built?
I think it is for a ton of people.
Really?
Yeah,
Because I
for a
think
lot
that
of
like what
people.
they saw with him with the flight banning stuff, I think that was enough for people to understand that he is helping the borders. Like
Yeah, I
do
mean,
you-
that could
do you
be enough
really
to
think people
justify it in
thought the
some
wall?
people's eyes. I think people did, man. That was a popular thing. And I'm not saying a huge wall across the entire border, but that was a big part for a lot of his base. And it was popular among Americans in certain places to put up a fence and stuff like that. And if that doesn't go through, man, I mean, I think he's going to lose a good amount of support. We'll see. I mean, maybe not. People defend him to the death for no
Yes.
reason. But, I mean, you've seen some of his prominent supporters turn on him with the Syria strikes and now with the wall. I mean, Ann Coulter wrote a book called In Trump We Trust, right?
Yep.
And now she's blasting him for
But that's
saying
fine.
he'll sign
I
a
mean,
budget into
I'm
law.
on board with that because you got to keep him accountable. You can't just
Yeah, no, I'm
blindly-
fine with that, but I just wish that he would stick to his promises, right? I mean, like, that's wishful thinking, yeah.
Yeah, no
But-
politician ever sticks to their promises. I think it's really naive to think that they're going to stick to their promises.
Yeah, no, I think you're
I
right.
mean,
to a
if
certain
someone,
extent.
like-
I just
like-
think that this is going to discourage a good amount of voters because out of the three main things he's promised, he hasn't gotten any of them done yet, and two of them are failures.
Well,
Legislatively. Now it is only 100 days, so it's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. There's another three years and 8 months, 10 months.
7 years.
Yeah, so I'm not saying this stuff isn't going to get done at all. That's not what I'm saying. But he promised that all of these things would happen within the first 100 days.
And honestly, the Russia thing's, I think, been a big burden.
Yeah,
on
and there's
him.
been more stuff coming up with Michael Flynn, more accusations going on at him that he might have broken the law. So there's more smoke there that we don't really know about.
Yeah, dude.
So I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of amateur mistakes that have kind of happened, and
Yeah. And so I've been thinking about this a lot because we knew this was going to be our topic about a week ago. And so I've been thinking about it. And it's like, I agree with you. I do think it seems like an amateur mistakes. But, I mean, and then I was like trying to think back, well, was it the right decision to put Trump in office? And I go back to an analogy of, would you rather have a toddler that doesn't know what they're doing in charge and can learn, or would you rather have someone that already knows what they're doing and is going to be rigid in what they're doing, but is completely on the opposite side of everything you could ever want?
yes,
You know?
yeah.
And I think
that's
I would
what
rather.
you're
I
saying.
still think I'd rather have the toddler that doesn't know what he's doing and makes rookie mistakes more than the person that's set in their ways and I just hate everything about their ways. You know?
I think that is a perfect analogy, man. I think
Yeah.
that's really good. No, I mean, I agree, man. I would rather have the toddler because at least the toddler can have
Can
people
learn.
around them that can kind of help them. Now,
Yeah.
it remains to be seen if the toddler will learn anything.
Mm-hmm.
But, No, I think you're right. I'm definitely glad that we have a President Trump instead of a President Clinton. Just threw up in my mouth.
That should never have been uttered.
I
That
know, sorry.
sentence.
But it's just, dude, it bothers me because I feel like there's just so many missed opportunities.
There are,
You know
like,
what I
for
mean?
instance,
That's
like
what
the
bothers
main
me
one,
the
the
most.
biggest one that I can see as a missed opportunity is the healthcare. I do not understand.
Yeah.
I don't think I will ever understand what they put forward and why they put it forward.
Yeah. I know,
It-
man. It's
it-
total garbage.
And it was such a big deal. Like, I mean, a lot of people. I'm still not totally on board with that. I think a lot of people thought the wall was going to be built.
Yeah.
I mean, I just maybe they did, and I mean, maybe I'm vastly overestimating the logical conclusions that average Americans can make. But did people really think we were going to build a wall all the way across
I
the
think
border?
they took it as fencing in more of the border and stuff like that.
I mean, I think he's already taken a better stance on immigration in my book. I
Better.
think.
Yeah, but it's better from, like, not that much at
The
all.
worst
but-
thing ever.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, he's deporting people, but President Obama deported people too. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think that much has been done on the immigration.
No, a
front.
lot hasn't. And I mean, I do think if you did think a lot was going to change in 100 days, I mean, nothing moves
Yeah.
quickly in Washington.
Yeah.
It is very slow and
Yeah.
very just whatever. But I agree also, like Neil
would say
Gorish.
Neil Gorsuch.
Neil- Yeah. That is awesome. And
Yeah.
he's going to be in there for the rest of his life. That's great. Or until he retires, I guess.
It'll be a long time. He's a pretty young guy.
Yeah, and so I think that's awesome, and that's something that's going to be there for a while. I can only hope that his next, because we're assuming he gets one, maybe two more, are as
probably
good. That
one.
would be awesome.
Probably at least one. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but so do you think? So how do you think America's taking Trump's home? Do you think that if you polled people, I mean, we already know his approval rating is in the dumps, but do you think that? What do you think people are looking at America now after these first 100 days?
Like Americans or on a foreign front?
Anything. I mean, because I've been trying to kind of get a feel of what America's looking at, and like, do they think it's as bad as it was? They thought it was going to be when people were like crying and screaming in the streets, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think
Well,
he's
I mean,
really
I think-
done much to warrant that.
No,
right?
he hasn't, man. He hasn't. And if you
He-
thought that he was going to do that much, then you're insane. Because
Yeah.
the president just doesn't have that much power. And if you thought that the Republicans would have the spine to do that much, then you're also insane because they don't. But yeah, I mean, his approval rating right now is sitting at like 41%. It's the
Oh, it went
latest
up?
Gallup poll. So yeah, I mean that's still pretty low. I mean most
Yeah.
presidents' approval ratings in the first 100 days considered the honeymoon stage, which
Oh,
President Trump
nice.
has not had that at all. But
Well, dude,
normally
he's
they're
been
above
so
50.
heavily scrutinized
He
by
has,
the media.
man. He has, and I think he's definitely been targeted more than any other president for sure. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a problem with the media being hostile against the president. But I wish it was that way with all politicians.
I hope
think-
it continues.
Yeah, it won't. It won't at all. But it would be nice if it did.
Yes.
But anyways, I think a lot of his rhetoric and stuff like that has been particularly harmful to the way people think of him, right?
Okay.
Because he said a lot of stupid things. He said a lot of lies, things that just blatantly aren't true. He just said that this past 100 days have been the most. He's gotten the most done out of any presidential candidate in the world, right? Or since any other.
Someone's got to teach him Google and simple
Right?
things
Like,
people
man,
can
you can't
Google.
just
Do
throw
not lie
things
about.
out there like
Yeah.
that. So I
It's
think
cannon fodder, man. It's so easy for them to grab that and then be like, "Look, he's illegitimate."
yeah, because
You
like,
know?
look, he's lying about this little thing. He lied about how many people were at his inauguration. He's probably lying about all these other things. So I think that hurts his image and stuff like that. I mean, some of his tweets are kind of crazy, man. I just think that if he learned how to control his language and better communicate with people and not tell these kind of compulsive lies like he does, I think he would have a much better approval rating because we've looked at these at pollings and stuff before. A lot of his policies are not unpopular. A lot of them are fairly popular among the American people. I mean, they did vote him into the office, but it's just what he says in the rhetoric and stuff like that he pursues that allows the mainstream media and, you know, people on the left and stuff like that to form these huge marches against him and the media to cover it like crazy because he does say stupid things all the time.
Yes.
And that's what bothers me the most, man, because like we talked about earlier, it's just a lot of missed opportunities in my opinion. I mean, when you come in having the presidency and both houses of Congress and you have all of these great promises and stuff like that, and you're trying to unify the party and all this kind of stuff, and then 100 days later, this is what people are saying about you, and this is what people are thinking about you, it's kind of disappointing.
It is, yeah. So I think what we both say, it's kind of disappointing. It could be worse, I think.
It could be worse.
Could be better.
It definitely could be better. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens on the foreign policy front, honestly, in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, with North Korea, he keeps talking about war, and I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm torn on North Korea, man, because like I obviously don't want us to get in a war with North Korea. South Korea is going to get decimated, and I'm not a huge fan of us getting into another war. We're already in the middle of the longest war we've ever been in, which is in Afghanistan. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But then again, I'm also not a huge fan of some crazy psychotic 33-year-old piece of crap in North Korea being able to claim all of this stupid rhetoric and saying he's going to blow us off the face of the earth. And
I don't think you're going to be allowed into North Korea now.
I'm totally okay with that. There's no way I'm going to that hellhole.
The can of worms that will be open if we go into North Korea. Like if they attack us, decimate them. Don't care.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should take the first step.
Well, I don't think they have the power to attack. It'd be if they attack South Korea, what would we do?
We would have to defend them.
We'd have to defend. I mean, we have we have about 20,000.
We have a ton of troops there.
So we would defend
they're still at war.
They are. They are still
technically.
At war. Yeah, technically speaking.
They just signed a whatever it's called that suspends it.
That suspends war, and it's been like that since 1953.
Yeah, so they're still at war. They're crazy. But like the humanitarian crisis and what we're gonna have to deal with if we have to invade North Korea, and it will be long and it will be slow and it will be drawn out because all of the people there are brainwashed and crazy, and nothing will be taken easily, and we don't need to deal with that right now.
Yeah.
I would assume I would like it, and I would hope that China helps with that because they're kind of right there, and they've dealt with them, and they've kind of been starting to give them the firm fist recently and being like, listen.
With some of their trading policies.
Yeah, and so I would hope they would help. I don't know, man.
So overall, what's President Trump's grade for the first 100 days? What do you think?
Probably just a solid C minus maybe.
C minus.
Just like passing.
Just like my report card. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, C's get degrees, so I guess he's still president.
He's still the president technically.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
I hate so much a lot of what people have been talking about, though, because I think there is things to scrutinize, but a lot of what people have been freaking out about him, I'm just like, why are we even talking about
A lot of
it's
overblown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see. My hope is that he learns to control his language and stuff like that, and then that people continue to see how outlandish some of these ridiculous claims are, from these super alt these people on the 10% on the left and the 10% on the right, and just kind of realize that people are crazy and these claims are crazy, and that this kind of stuff isn't going to happen when you're talking about him and like climate change, and people are like freaking out about that dude and freaking out claiming he's a science denier and all these things. By the way, if you don't agree with a scientific conclusion that someone draws based on evidence, that doesn't mean you're a science denier. That just means you don't agree with the conclusion. Anyways, had to get that out there. But I just think that I don't know. We'll see what happens, man. But
yeah, I am excited to see his tax plan because that's coming up. What he wants.
He's announced his tax plan. We can talk about that.
I thought we had bits and pieces of it.
We have bits and pieces. A pretty coherent part for but I mean the main thing is the corporate tax getting down to 15%.
To like 15%.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, but I think that's big. But the only problem is if you don't cut spending, when you cut taxes, you increase the deficit. So I'm all for cutting taxes 100%, but if you don't cut the spending, then you're going to have an increased deficit, and you're just going to get slaughtered for that. So you got to do both. You can't just do one.
Just slash everything, bro.
Slash it all. Ron Swanson style.
For real.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to sum up this week's main topic, and we're going to move right into what triggered us this week. All All right, guys, we are back, and we're going to finish up this week's podcast, as we always do, in the What Triggered Us section. And this, of course, is where we deny all logic and rational thinking and replace it with emotions and feelings.
Yes, as, I mean, most good Americans do.
Amen, brother.
Yes.
But,
so what mine is,
yeah.
mine is about the great integrity of past presidents and how it's you always talk about how politicians say one thing and do another. We just talked about it in the last segment, and how like they kind of lie to get elected or whatever, and then when they actually get in the office, they don't do what they said they were going to do, and it's really annoying. So it's refreshing to see a politician actually stand his ground on his policy that he talked about. In this instance, it was while he was in office, where now he's out of office. And what I'm talking about is Obama, famously or whatever, he attacked Wall Street a lot, and he talked about how he hated Wall Street, and he was against, like, he was going to go after banks. It was one of his campaign things. He didn't when he was in office, but he talked about it. And if you all, and on a parallel, we also remember talking about how we hated Hillary because she took all these private speeches for money. Yes. And it kind of was a little scummy, like you're kind of just taking money from people, and we don't really know what your intentions are, because what you're saying is you don't like them, yet you're giving speech to them for money. Whatever. Obama's not like her. She did the speech for what, like $250,000? Yeah. Obama's not like her. He doesn't do a speech for anything less than $400,000. So
Dude, give a speech for $400,000. I mean,
right. So this is reports have come out. Obama's going to be doing a speech for Wall Street, to the tune, I think it was a 20-minute speech at like a dinner or something, for $400,000. And I would never discourage someone from taking a check for $400,000 for 20 minutes of work, especially because he's not even going to write the speech. Someone's gonna write the speech, and he'll just give it. But I do have a problem with the integrity aspect.
That's $1.2 million an hour, dude. That's pretty solid pay.
What the heck, man? Like, how are you going to criticize anybody for being corrupt when what you always talked about against, and how you didn't like big banks and how whatever, and then as soon as you're out of office, you're like, I'll do a speech for them, whatever, $400,000. What the heck, man?
Yeah.
People from all over have come out. Bernie Sanders has come out and said it's scummy. Even Elizabeth Warren said it was bad precedent, and it kind of dismantles anything he said in his presidency, because now where he doesn't need to say it or need to live up to it, he's not, Yeah. Like if someone's saying something when they need to say it, and then they're saying the same thing when they don't need to say it, you kind of get the feeling that they believe in what they're saying. When it's the opposite, you get the feeling that they were just pandering. And honestly, I never had any doubt Obama was pandering to people. But this, I'm just like, I cannot believe. And I hope it opens people's eyes that he's not this perfect president that everyone somehow thinks he is.
No, he's perfect. He's absolutely perfect in every way.
And we were in the best shape after he left.
We were in the best shape ever.
Yeah.
No, I totally get what you're saying, man. I mean, it's kind of crazy. And the thing is that these speeches that they give affect the marketplace. They do. So companies will pay them, and these big institutions and stuff will pay them to affect their company. It directly affects them. I mean, Hillary Clinton gave a speech about different types of pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. Instantly, their stocks totally dropped the next day. So these speeches affect markets and companies on it's on a national scale for sure, even a global scale to some extent, especially when you're a former president of the United States. So, yeah, I mean, this stuff is super hypocritical, especially
all he cares about is money. And I don't have a problem with that. That's fine if you want all you care about is money. But don't lie when you're in office and tell me that you don't care about money and you're against Wall Street.
Yeah, and then come out and give these speeches about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
A little hypocritical.
Get the crap out of here. He also has a freaking $35 million memoir. Like, are you kidding me? Holy crap, dude. This guy's making bank.
Doing pretty good, man. It's doing pretty good.
Jeez.
Get to kind of sail the rest of his life. Hang out,
Anyway,
what hate to break it to you though, politicians tend to be hypocritical though, so just by the way.
Yeah.
My article this week is a article that Polygon wrote about the new Call of Duty game that's coming out. It's back. It's set in World War II. Here's a little bit of the trailer for it.
Prevail. Get your head down
it! Keep moving!
We are all that separates the world from darkness. The enemy is ruthless. We cannot, we must not fail.
Duty first.
Man, you know what? That looks like a bunch of whitewashing crap to me. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say it looks awesome. You just took all the wind out of my sails.
All right, so this is an article that Polygon wrote. For those of you who aren't really, associated with the gaming industry or anything like that, Polygon is a pretty good gaming news outlet.
Not good. Not in any sense of the word
big,
good.
sorry.
Big. Definitely big, but not good.
Gaming news outlet. And so what they titled an article that they came out with saying Call of Duty's World War II's diversity is nothing more than marketing. And in the article they write, quote, since American pop culture took control of World War II as a narrative, it's always been presented as a white man's war. From the sands of Iwo Jima to the Great Escape to the Thin Red Line to Saving Private Ryan, that's the perspective you get, end quote. So, I mean, yes, that's the perspective you get. Why is this? Well, because predominantly
Let's think about this.
White men fought in World War II. Yes, there were Japanese and there were some Chinese resistance as well that fought in the war. But most of the time when you're looking at it from a westernized perspective, I mean, Adolf Hitler was trying to establish a superior race of white people, okay? So, okay, but
Yeah.
it gets better. It gets better. Later on, they say, quote, Sledgehammer, who's the lead designers of the game, Sledgehammer staffers repeatedly reference the term brotherhood, and then they go on to say that this means that the game is going to be from a traditional perspective and that it doesn't include brothers of other races or brothers who don't identify as male. So apparently you can have, when you're talking about war and the brotherhood that bonds men and soldiers together, if you don't really identify as a male, if you're a chick, you can still be in that brotherhood. You know what I'm saying?
Like, what has this come into, man?
Yeah, it's crazy. And then they finish it off saying a lot of different people are going to be playing Call of Duty World War II. Just because brothers of different races didn't fight alongside each other doesn't mean that players in the year 2017 shouldn't inhabit and absorb all their experiences. So basically what they're saying is just because it didn't actually happen historically doesn't mean that here in 2017, whatever that means, that we shouldn't be able to experience things that didn't happen. That is disturbing, man. If that is the way that media is going to be moving in the future, saying that just because it didn't historically happen, we need to alter that so that all races and sexes can be, or genders, can be included, that's really disturbing.
Yeah, and the important distinction, I think, is that if you want to, go for it. If you want to make this alternate thing where there was this all-female squad that helped save World War II, go for it. But Sledgehammer has come out, the developers, and said, we want to make like an authentic World War II experience and tell the story.
Yeah.
Then they have to kind of just go with how it was.
I mean, actually
they're kind of mandated by how the history happened.
Yeah. It's insane, man.
It's the
totally
same
insane.
idea when people were like, why can't Captain America be gay? It's like, because he's not gay. Like, you can have a gay superhero, I don't care, but Captain America, in the comics,
is
not gay. I mean,
I don't know, man. That sounds like, that sounds a little mean. You're making a little bit too much sense to me.
I hate Polygon, dude.
Yeah. I hate that. And I wanted to bring that up because dude, that affects people outside of the gaming industry too, man, because I really feel like that's a narrative of where things are going now. Even when you look at like Bill Nye's new show and stuff like that, it's not about the science behind it. It's not about what actually happened or what actually is. It's about feelings that you have now in the progressive year of 2017 that should make things as you want them to be.
Obviously,
and it's really
dude.
bothers. It's really bothersome.
Nah, it's not, dude. It's how it should be.
It's great, yeah. It's
in
great.
2017.
I love everyone and I love people. All right, guys. Well, that is going to wrap up this week's Peanut Gallery podcast. We promise we will be back next week. And be sure and leave a comment below. Tell us what you think about President Trump's first 100 days. Give his rating. Tell us if you thought he did good or bad. Be sure and comment on any of the stories that we talked about. That really helps us out. Follow us on iTunes and Google Play. Be sure and leave a review there. That helps us out too. And we'll see you guys next week. And remember, always stay informed.